Hello, and welcome to the live coverage of Ashland's Election Day. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. This is Around the Clock and WACA-TV. We're going to be speaking with a number of the candidates, both the uncontested as well as the winner of the Selectboard race. We are also going to be speaking with Michael Herbert, Ashland Town Manager, to talk about how the election went today, how the mail-in ballots went. We are also going to be speaking with Jim Adams, the Superintendent of the Ashland Public Schools. But to start our show tonight, we're going to start with one of our uncontested races. We're going to be speaking with Lakshmi, who ran for the planning board. This was her first time running for public office. And we're going to bring her on and talk to her about how it went today and what she thinks and what she's looking forward to. We're going to be speaking with Lakshmi, who ran for the planning board. Hi, Lakshmi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Hi, Yolanda.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Are we going to get to see you, or is it just going to be over the phone?
I can start the video.
There we go.
I
want people to see you. So how are you doing, Lakshmi?
I'm doing great.
Good, good. So you are now elected to Ashland's Planning Board. And I know you did the forum and you talked a little bit about yourself then, but not everyone maybe got to see that. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Lakshmi. Your education, what you do, and what made you decide to run.
Thank you, Yolanda. So I've lived in Ashland for 20 plus years with my family, my husband and my two kids. I am a CPA by profession. I work in the tax department as a VP of tax in an insurance company in Boston. I have tried contributing to a town by volunteering my time, depending upon my personal life and professional life. By being part of the Ashland Cultural Council, I've been the chair for 2 terms. And I've also volunteered through AEFI. I've volunteered at the Dragonfly Festival. And now my kids are all grown up. So now I feel like I can give much more back to the community. So that's why I thought I'll take a bigger role, which is the planning board. So I'm very excited and can't wait to start.
And what have you done to prepare yourself for joining the planning board?
So I've attended a couple of meetings. I've talked to a couple of the members, and I think I am ready, excited. I have a lot to learn, but I'm excited and happy to be part of the board.
Good. Now, you know, there's been a lot of discussion about different buildings in town. So, you know, and you have to follow the rules. Have you started reading zoning laws and Ashland zoning laws to help start getting yourself familiar?
I just started, so
Okay.
I need some. So I do need some advice, but yes, I've started reading up on the zoning laws. But I think there's a lot of things that you learn on the job, and some you learn before the job. So I'm trying my best to learn, like read up on stuff. But I think as I go, I will learn on a lot of stuff as I go. So
Definitely.
yeah, I'm trying to do that.
And I think it's going to be one of those things that once you sit there, you go, wow, there's a lot.
Right. So yeah, I think the first meeting I went, I'm like, oh my God, there's much I need to catch up on. But I think, yeah, it's a good field. So I have to learn a lot. Yes.
Okay. So you're going to reach out to people who are already on the planning board. What do you think will be your first sort of role, or as you sit there, your first meeting, where do you think you're going to be? What are you going to be thinking? How are you going to be approaching it?
As I mentioned, I have a tax background. So I am taught, my profession has trained me to look at an issue, look at the facts, review all the laws and regulatory requirements before you come up with a solution or make a decision. So I'm going to bring that to the table. So I think as we go, I think I'm going to bring that in and use that in the board. Again, as I mentioned, I do not have a real estate or a development background. So I come very without any conflict of interest. So I bring that to the board. So I think that's what I am planning to bring to the board. Hopefully, I'll put it to good use, and I hope it could do a good service to the community.
Good, good. So what are some of the other things that you've done in the community before running for planning board?
So as I mentioned, I've been the chair for the Ashland Culture Council for 2 terms. So this is my last term, so I cannot run anymore. I cannot continue. So as part of that, I've led a leadership position there. Basically, what the Ashland Culture Council does is we get grants from the state and we give it out for local cultural art programs. We have helped sponsor we have co-sponsored the Dragonfly Festival, which I've enjoyed being part of, and I volunteered my time there. I've been part of the AEFI, again, volunteering my time. Again, it's when you are younger and have kids and professional life to manage, it's very hard to come up with a more bigger role. So I try my best to do it. Yes. Again, this will be a new role that I'll be taking on. There's more I can do. I've always taken more quieter background roles. So this will be the first time I'm taking something which is more bigger and more in front. So I hope to do a good job.
Though you say you're looking to take a bigger role, my understanding of Cultural Council is there's a lot that you've been working on, and certainly AEFI, depending on what role you had at AEFI, they do a lot. I mean, that the Ashland Education Foundation, in regards to their fundraisers and their research on technology and grants for teachers. So you're taking a role that is elected, but you've certainly been doing a lot in the community already.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what makes Ashland, I think, is the people who have volunteered and who do a little bit and then they do a little bit more. And I mean, many of our volunteers are doing more than one thing. So
yeah. So the point I want to make is I've lived in Ashland and I really enjoy being here. It's a very vibrant town. I've seen the Ashland landscape change a lot. More people moving in, more diverse group moving in. So I feel like it's you cannot sit back and watch change. You have to be part of change. So that's what I try to do.
Good. Well, Lakshmi, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us. Best of luck in your new role as a member of the planning board. One of the first things you need to do is make sure you go to town hall and get sworn in. So that you can attend your meeting officially. When is the first meeting? Do you know? When's your first?
I think every Thursday, alternate Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. And Lakshmi, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay, good luck.
Bye.
So that was Lakshmi, who is our newest member of the Ashland Planning Board. And next we're going to speak with Carolyn Bell, who has just been reelected to the library trustees. Carolyn has been a library trustee for quite a while, and we'll let her tell you a little bit more about that. She's in the process of getting herself connected. This is all being done via Zoom. I'm at the Prospect Street studio, and we have people at our studio at Butterfield. Carolyn's coming from her home. Lakshmi came from hers. And again, so through the night, we're going to be having Michael Herbert at some point, the town manager. We're going to be having Jim Adams, our superintendent of schools, probably around 7:15. We expect to also be speaking with Laurie Tosti, who has been reelected to the school committee, a few other ones. The big, of course, announcement that everyone is wondering about is who won the election for select board, either current planning board chair Preston Crow or current select board chair Stephen Mitchell. And the polls have closed. They closed at 7 o'clock. So we'll be waiting and getting that information from our town clerk, Tara Ward, probably close to 7:30 or 7:45, unless there were a lot of write-in votes or something like that she has to tally up. So we will be hearing about that. So if Carolyn is ready, she's still trying to connect. She's looking at the camera. I don't know if she can hear me. There you are. I can't hear you. Carolyn Bell is connecting. Are you muted by chance?
Nope. You
Nope,
want
there we are. Nope, now we can hear you. Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
good?
Good, good. So congratulations on your reelection to Library Trustee.
It's a position I enjoy.
And what term is this for you?
I think this is like my 25th year.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is. I don't think I planned on that quite. I didn't plan on anything that happened. No, I mean, I went in for a couple minor, I wanted computers, and then we wound up with a new library, and now all kinds of exciting things are happening.
So what made you want to become a library trustee to begin with, Carolyn?
The library is in a very sorry state. And I had a friend, Debbie Blakelock, who was the head of the Friends. And she said to me at one point, why don't you run? There's an opening. And at the time, computers were coming in. And there were kids who had them, but there were a lot of kids who didn't. And they were expensive. And I thought it was going to be a big dividing line for the kids. And I thought if we could have some computers in the library, then the kids could go to the library, they could write their papers there, they could have them printed out. So the computers were them. And then of course now lots of people are using the computers at the library.
Yeah.
I mean, even though lots of people have computers, there are still people. When you go into any library, you always see people sitting at them.
So you said you've been a trustee for 25 years. What is the biggest change that you've seen in regards to the use of the Ashland Library?
I want to talk about Paula because I was on the selection committee, and Paula. And
Yes.
The major thing, not only is she competent, but what I was looking for, I go to a lot of libraries because I like libraries. And each one has a personality and different things that they offer. But the thing about it was, whenever you go to any other library, you never know who the director is.
Oh.
You don't know who they are. I mean, I know who the one in Framingham is because I met him once, and I see him every so often. But I don't think most people, as nice as he is, he's not accessible quite the way that Paula is. Right. And if you go in anytime, she's willing to work the desk, and then people talk to her. And then if there's anything going on, they interact with her. And I think she's major for our library.
Yeah, we are fortunate to have Paula Benetti as our right. Library director. Yeah, so nice job on that.
Right. And the other thing, yes, and when I was on the committee, you interview people but you have no way of knowing really how it's going to work. She really is better than we thought. And then when I went on, it wasn't very clean. People drove by on the way to other libraries, and fighting for the library, people said, why do we need it? And of course, now it's a wonderful place.
Oh, it's such a gem.
It is. So, but we have there are new programs. One of the things we have is Canopy. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Canopy?
I am.
Your library card, you get 4 films a month. And if you have a husband with a card, you can get 8. I've never done that.
And if you have kids, depending on how many kids who have library cards, you can get even more.
That's right. Now, something new Paula is getting is something called, now Canopy has 30,000 titles, documentaries and films. Something new that's coming to the library, thanks to Robert Sheesky, who left us in his will, and the large meeting room is named after him now. Yep. But we are now getting something called Hoopla. And you can use Hoopla 5 times a month. It has 800,000 titles. So if you have a book club, it will give you material for your book club. There's a kids read-along program. There are all kinds of titles, music, TV. I'm kind of excited about that because I'm not sure if that's going to open up all kinds of TV series for us, like nice. BBC things.
Wonderful.
And also, the library has worked very hard. They've got the partitions going up now.
Good.
You can take out as many as 20 titles. I think it's 20 titles now on your card a month.
Wow.
The summer reading is going to be important because the kids have just not, been in school.
Yeah.
And there's something else called Kits Craft in a Bag. I'm not sure exactly what that is. So, but I asked Paula,
Yep.
but what should I talk about if there's something special? And she said, so that might be good for kids.
Great.
So they're going to have self-checkouts. Going to put in a little machine so you can wash. I imagine people will go in and go out.
Yeah.
And she does take the materials, put it in the large meeting room for 72 hours.
Oh, good.
And then you bring it out. So if you go in there and you touch a book, it goes into the 72. So you gotta make sure you touch it and take it.
Right. It's like at the grocery store nowadays. If you're gonna touch it, try to take it with you.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, Caroline, before I let you go, what big initiative, if there is one, will you be working on your next term?
I think it's mainly this whole pandemic. I think it's going to go on for maybe a year or two. So, but in a couple weeks, the interlibrary loan is opening up.
Oh, good.
And so everybody knows how that works, right? And then I found, because I was home and I couldn't go into libraries, I really found that the hardest part. Well, that's the second hardest part. Not being near people was the first hard part of all this. But the second hardest part was not visiting libraries. And, I go to Framingham and I kind of look over at it and say, oh, I wonder what they have. And not going into the Ashland library has been difficult. But I think the pandemic, whether we're going to start up the film series at any point, it's not clear what's going to happen.
Right.
But the interlibrary loan will make things a lot easier for all of us. And now that I bought a Kindle, finally, I was the last holdout, I think. I discovered that you can go to any of the consortia. So you can go to CLAMS, you can go to, CW Mars, you can go to any of the library systems. So all over the state, you can borrow on the Kindle. But the funny thing was, when I first started it, it said there were 1,900 pages of book titles. So I started and I got up to page 120. And then I kind of stopped. I found something to borrow. And then I discovered a couple more times that if I kind of checked, it says available books for borrowing.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. So it was a little easier.
Yeah.
So
yeah, changing from paper to Kindle, there's definitely benefits to that. But every once in a while, I know for myself, I still like to hold that book in my hand. So
well, I like to look back. It's kind of hard to go back and forth. I haven't learned how to do it. I understand, though, that you can highlight and that you can touch words and that it will give you the definition.
Right.
So that might be, that would
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with your Kindle. And Carolyn, thank you so much for speaking with us, and congratulations on your reelection to library trustees.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
That was Carolyn Bell, who was just reelected to library trustee. She's been in that position for about 25 years. We are next going to be speaking with Jim Adams, our superintendent of schools. He was not on the ballot. He is appointed by our school committee, but he is going to talk to us, give us a little update on how the end of the school year went and some of the work that's being done to prepare for the fall. Jim, welcome back to Around the Clock.
Thank you. Everyone doing okay?
So far, so good. I'm making it through the heat and enjoying true summer weather now that it's officially summer.
I don't know if it rained in Ashland. I left earlier today and I got home and here in Stowe, and we had really heavy rain, but all it did was seem to get more oppressive.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's not rain that's cooling us off anytime soon.
No.
So how are you?
I'm well. Yeah. It's the year's over. Thank goodness.
Yep. Officially.
Officially last Thursday,
Yep.
on the 18th. And so now we're taking hopefully a couple day reprieve, most of us, so we can get focused on, school year coming up in the fall. So that is garnering much of our attention right now. And I think it's on the minds of most students, parents, and community members in Ashland for sure, as it is probably around the Commonwealth and the country. So
Right. So I know you have a task force together looking at what education in the fall of 2020 under the pandemic is going to look like.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little taste of what that conversation has been like?
Sure. Yeah, we have about 40 folks who are part of the working group, and our initial goal was to look at some of the data that's out there from other states and other countries to see what it is that we could implement in Ashland, and then take this framework, if you will, and provide it to the local schools, so all of our buildings, so then they can work within the framework. And part of the work we've done is reviewing various states, Rhode Island, Vermont. They've already published what they're expecting their communities to do. And we're hoping, and this is tomorrow, which is what day is that? The 25th of June, we will finally have some direction, we hope, from the governor and the Commissioner of Education as to what we should be really thinking about. So the task force will then reconvene probably in a week after we get that information and say, okay, what is it that we can do, and what is it that we're going to be required to do? I think there's going to be a little more required versus recommended coming out of the State House this time, unlike the remote learning plans were a lot of recommended and not heavily required. I think the commissioner and the governor will want to have most districts be on similar pages, because if there's part of it that's in-person learning and remote learning at the same time, we have many parents who are teachers who work and live in different districts, and so if we can create some continuity and consistency from one district to the next, I think that'll alleviate some of the concerns and issues that might arise from an employment standpoint as well.
And what kind of feedback is the state taking from superintendents and the people actually doing the educating after the experience from the spring?
Right. Good question. We meet with the commissioner weekly, the superintendent's organization. So he's getting an earful for
I
sure.
can imagine.
But he also has his own task force, which does include educators, parents, people from the business community, superintendents, et cetera, as well as some, the key component, I think what we'll find and hear more about is that as the governor has done, the commissioner is doing the same. It's all about the health professionals, right? I mean,
right.
They're the ones who are providing us with the data. They're the ones who are saying, this is what you should be thinking about in terms of how you set up a classroom. This is what you should be thinking about in terms of what it looks like in transportation or nutrition services. So we're certainly going to be following those guidelines. And I think there's going to be very little wiggle room. I really do this time around. I think it's going to be pretty direct as to what we should be doing and prescriptive, which isn't a bad thing, to be honest, Yolanda. I think we've been clamoring for direction, right? It's July, believe it or not. Next week is July, and folks think
I know.
We have all this time in the world to prepare. But what if we are, hypothetically, what if we're only bringing in half the kids at a time, say at the high school level? What does that look like? What does it look like for our teachers? What does it look like in negotiations with our unions? And what does it look like in terms of the cost? And what do we do about the remote piece? And so the professional development that's needed for staff. So it's going to be an endless summer. I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that update.
Sure.
Another piece that I know people are very aware of, if you could give us a quick update, what is going on with the feasibility study for the Mendez School?
So actually this morning, this morning I was on a call with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. They approved our preferred schematic design option. So that's the next phase of the feasibility. So we're really getting into developing about a 30% build of what it would look like. And now we can settle into what a true budget would look like in this, in a facility and move it forward. And I want to say thank you. Senator Spilka today was at the MSBA meeting and spoke behalf of the Ashland Public Schools and the Ashland community. And, so I want to thank her very much. I had nothing to say when she was down. I was like, well, what more can I say? She said it all, right? There's a reason why we need a new Mendez building. And Senator Spilka eloquently laid it out there in front of the MSBA, and they were like, okay, we're passing it. No, I mean, but the next major milestone for us, honestly, is there are two, really getting the information out to our community. We've worked really hard on, I think, making the building environmentally friendly, and we're still working through those options, because as much as we want to be that net zero community and net zero ready community, it's really costly. And so we've got to balance those things with a community that we want to see a new public safety facility and we want to see a new school building. We need them both. And yes, we have entered into a downturn in the economy, which I do think will quickly recover, because it's been focused mainly on COVID, right? And it wasn't necessarily people were losing jobs because the economy was turning. It was COVID and I'll say this, I mean, with the select board and finance committee and school committee creating all the policies that we have over the past 5-6 years, we're still in a very good economic situation to move these projects forward in November. So I applaud all of the leadership of the boards, the volunteer boards, because we are in that position still where we can move this forward. And so November is really the key date, right? We'll have a special election and special town meeting to decide that.
And a lot of information going out between now and then on a lot of input and requests from the community to get involved and give us their feedback on how important is that sustainability and building a school that is greener.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really critically important to get that feedback from the entire community, and that those things will be happening throughout July, August, September for sure. And hopefully we're able to be able to have less physical distancing, in the sense that we can get people into a facility to see the information. It's really hard doing it over Zoom, right?
You can't sense that, you don't see the cracks on the floor.
That's right. So, I mean, we can run around with a GoPro camera and say, oh, look, but it's not quite the same as being there looking at it in person. So.
Good. Well, Jim, thank you for the update. We are going to let you go. I know you were trying to get a little bit of time off, so go enjoy that.
I will. Thank you.
And thank you again. And I'm sure as we get closer to the start of the school year, we'll have you on, maybe some of the members of your task force.
That'd be great.
To find out what school is going to look like in fall for Ashland.
That'd be fantastic. Great. Thank you.
Thanks again, Jim.
Stay cool.
Thanks. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
We just spoke with Jim Adams, the superintendent of the Ashland Public Schools. We are now going to switch to Michael Herbert, the town manager here in Ashland. We are hoping to get some numbers for what the election looked like today, as well as how he thought things went. We did look at a little different if you went and voted in person today. Certainly there were less places to vote, less people working the polls, and all of those poll workers were our town staff. Michael, welcome to Around the Clock. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me again.
How are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm doing well. I think, I was wondering when I pulled into the polling location today, I was like, this is hotter than most elections I've been in. And then I was like, oh yeah, we're having it in June.
Yeah, we're about 6 weeks later than usual. So
exactly. But, I'm glad you mentioned the town employees and the other volunteers. If you had a chance to go into that gym today, it was really hot. And
it was
no air conditioner, but they did a great job. They saved the taxpayers a lot of money. So by doing this, so can't thank them enough.
Yep. Yeah. So as we said, we had some mail-in ballots, and then we had people show up today. Do we have numbers as to the split there and what our total vote count was?
Well, I can give you the total vote count.
Okay.
And that is, looks like we had the total number of voters In total is 11,863. The ones who came out today or voted early, 865. So it's about a 7.29%.
Wait, how many people did mail-in ballots?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't have that split up.
Okay.
It's just total. But, you know, and these are unofficial results, by the way. But I do know that we had about 550 ballots come in through mail or
Okay.
early voting or absentee,
Yep.
which means we had, 300, close to 400, I think, come to the polls today. And, this was a unique election in so many different ways.
Right.
So first of all, you've got so much stuff going on in the world. I'm not necessarily sure how many people were paying attention to the fact that there was an election even 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And at the same time, you had, COVID and the fact that we're doing early voting and vote by mail. So you had this other opportunity to take advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you just didn't know what to expect. So didn't hit my goal of 15%. So
yeah, I was hoping we were going to get to at least 10%. I was hoping we'd get to at least 1,000 voters. Yeah. But 800, I mean, it was, as you said, with everything going on, with only one contested race on the ballot, people had to really want to participate and have a voice for that seat to come out and vote and or do the mail-in.
Right.
So what have we learned from this election that we will then use moving forward for the primary in September and the general election in November?
Well, I think the first thing we learned is if we're going to build a new school, we should probably put air conditioning in the gym. So I think, we'll do a postmortem, as I like to call it, over the next week or so and see what we could have done better, what worked well. We actually had people here checking the Dropbox all up until 7 p.m. So, that was a little bit hectic.
Yeah.
I think we'll look at ways to advertise more, of course. I think we've demonstrated that we consistently improve and in a lot of facets of operations, or I hope so. I hope people feel that way. And, we do that with elections as well. Right. We've got a great team. So Tara and Cindy and, the volunteers just do a remarkable job. They really do.
And a big thanks, as you said, to our town hall staff who helped out with this election.
Yes.
So the primary is statewide. That is in September. Will we plan on having early voting available? In-person early voting?
I think that is yet to be decided.
Okay.
Because I know it sounds like mail-in voting is going to be a reality. Early mail-in voting for the primary, or at least if it hasn't been mandated yet, I'm assuming that that's probably going to happen. So yeah, we'll, haven't really decided how we're going to handle it. I think we'll just probably recover from this one and just really see. Yeah, it's just so unique.
Right.
Are we still going to be are we still going to be wearing masks in September?
Right.
Yeah. So wish I had more info.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you for letting us know the number of voters. So just about 7.8%. So about 900 people, you said?
Yeah. So we had the total number of votes. And again, this is unofficial.
Yeah.
865.
Okay.
The total percentage is 7.29%.
Okay.
So
great.
And congratulations to, who ends up, winning.
Right. So. Right. Great. Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us, and enjoy the rest of your night. And we're going to move on to some of our candidates.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was Michael Herbert, Ashland Town Manager, talking with us about the number of unofficial count. About 865 ballots were cast here in Ashland, either via mail-in ballots or in-person polling today. We are next going to be speaking with Laurie Tosti, who has just been reelected to her 4th term on the Ashland School Committee. Laurie was first elected in May of 2011. Laurie, welcome to Around the Clock.
Hey there, Yolanda. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
You're sitting outside. I think you made the right choice.
Well, I have to say, like everybody else, we've been affected by the pandemic.
Oh, no.
And I went from having my house to myself all day to sharing it with 5 adults.
Oh, wow.
So my office is now, you're looking at it.
Wait a
Thank
second.
God it's the summer.
What happened that you wound up sharing it with 5 adults? Are all the kids back? Or?
I have 3 kids in college.
Okay.
So they all returned and they're here for the summer and they're figuring out their job situation and so forth. And my husband's been working from home since pretty much the beginning.
Yep.
And so I moved out here and whenever I can be, and it's actually really nice.
There you go. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, congratulations on your reelection to your 4th term on the Ashland School Committee.
Thank you.
May 2011 was your first election. I'm going to have you go down a little bit to memory lane. What made you run that first time?
So the first time, honestly, Yolanda, it was really my first sort of entry into the world after having been at home for several years with raising 4 kids. I did have a part-time job, but I didn't involve myself too much in school activities other than being the homeroom mom or sitting on a committee here and there. And as the youngest went off to school and I found myself getting a little bit more involved and understood that this was a position that I might have a skill set for, I just went for it, really, without, honestly, at the first election, not really giving it a lot of thought.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like a good opportunity, a good fit, and I did it, and I ended up there, and here we are 10 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And of those, let's see, you 3 terms, so 9 years that you've been on the board.
Yes.
How many years have you been chair?
I have been, I was vice chair for the first 2 years.
Okay.
So I guess that 7 years chair.
Wow.
And a little plus because our timing is all off.
Right.
Right. So a little more than 7.
And how many people have you been on the board with? You've been somewhat consistent the last year or 2, but before that you had some changes.
Yeah, the last few years have been consistent. I don't know that I have the total number, Yolanda. As you know, like when I came onto the board, all of those members were new to me, and
Right.
they've all been around for a while, and I was brand new. And over the next few years, I guess they all made their way out, and some new people joined. Mark Larson joined, Gina Donovan joined, and then in the past few years, Mark Terry, Paul Kendall, Aaron Williams, Kathy Bates has been on for a while, almost as long as I have.
Right.
So
Nice.
there hasn't been a lot of turnover in the past few years, which is part of the reason why I decided to run again, because that sort of the consistency that you build up with a team, especially if it's working. If it's not working,
if it's not working, then you look at changing it.
we have a problem. But when it's working and you've kind of ironed out a lot of the external stuff, and you can just work. And we have a fantastic superintendent and administrative team, and we're in a good place with the other boards in town, including yours.
Yes.
And town management. And so when things are moving along, it just makes sense to me to continue to be part of it, unless there's a good reason why I can't.
Right. You were talking about, you have a good administration in place, and I just did hear recently of some changes in some of the administration, but in your early years, you had a lot of change in administration in regards to principals and administrators and deans, and things have been pretty stable for a while. How has that made your job on the school committee easier, or how has it helped develop what you're doing?
Well, in a lot of different ways, both personal and professional. Again, when you work with somebody personally year after year after year, and you build up an understanding of how they operate. You build up a sense of trust, and there's a safety involved in expressing your concerns. We can have conflict, and we do, but it's something that's respected, and we move on from it very quickly. So that's the good, I think, that comes from being able to work with people year after year if they're the right people and they feel that you're the right people. So that's what's been good. The turnover in the beginning, honestly, I think we went through 5 or 6 different superintendents. And there might have been, I can say some great things about all of them at one point or another, but without that consistency and without that deep understanding of what Ashland School District is all about and how to lead it and how to work with your school committee and how to
Right.
work with your town manager
Right.
and how to work with your other boards in town, that is something that really just has to evolve over time.
Right. Yeah.
And it doesn't work if it's a revolving door.
Correct. Good. Good. Well, Laurie, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us. Congratulations on your reelection. The town and our schools are fortunate to have you and the rest of the board in place.
Thank you so much.
As you said, that consistency is a positive thing.
For sure.
We will let you go and enjoy the rest of your summer night as we move on with the rest of our coverage.
Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. Take care, Laurie.
Bye-bye. Bye.
So we are ready to call the select board. We have official numbers, and as we said, we had about 865 people voting per our town manager. And we have just been told that Stephen Mitchell has won the race for select board here in Ashland with an unofficial account of 564 to 293. So congratulations to Steve. And I know we're going to have him on the line. I don't know that we have him yet. So while we wait to get Steve on the line and talk to him about that, we are going to jump to Ron from the Board of Health. Ron is going to join us. He is also reelected to a second term on the Board of Health, and we're going to wait for him to jump on board. Oh,
hi, Yolanda.
Hi, Ron. How are you?
Using my wife's computer. So
I was going to say, I'm like, it says Sandy, but it's not Sandy.
Correct. Same last name, though.
There you go.
How are you?
Good, good. So you've just been reelected to your second term on the Board of Health. How are you feeling about that?
Good. It's a great experience. It's nice to be in a good group that we have now. So I know Judy Teller. I know also I'm sure was elected today. So she's been a great asset. KG, Diane, Chris Daniele. It's a really nice group, and I think we're moving forward and doing some essential things that the town needs.
Yeah, it's been nice to see, certainly with everything that's going on with COVID-19 and the response from our Board of Health, that you've been able to work together so well. With that in mind, Ron, what do you think moving forward are some of the first initiatives that the board, other than COVID-19, may be working on in the future?
Yeah, well, we just had a nice meeting last night. I know Diane Mortensen and Mark Orem have been working collaboratively with Framingham. We're trying to fund a regional health nurse for Framingham, Holliston, Hopkinton, and Hudson. So
nice.
that looks like that's coming together. It's supposed to start July 1st. I don't know that that'll be exactly the case, but that should help out Mark and deliver more services to, certainly the population, particularly being able to, monitor, let's say, flu cases and other diseases, communicable diseases as well, and really help out with vaccinations for people. I would assume that the COVID vaccinations, hopefully being developed now, would be one thing. Plus, we've had an issue with being able to provide those services for school-age children, so that shouldn't be an issue anymore. So those are a few nice things that are happening with that, and just the usual things. there's always, food issues now, especially with the COVID, and, the regular day-to-day responsibilities are, it's an interesting thing. I never realized that there were so many involved in it. Go on before I got involved.
And certainly our restaurants have been dealing with a lot, and the Board of Health has been able to help them with that.
Yeah.
That, trying to transition to outside dining, and now going to be able to go back to inside dining.
Right. And people, they should really feel comfortable with that. Mark Oram and Tom Curran, who's our part-time food inspector, they're really on the ball. They make sure that all of these restaurants are inspected and that everybody's, following the state guidelines and regulations regarding cleanliness and social distancing. And everybody's been, really notified. Everybody's been inspected. Everybody's inspected multiple times. So people hopefully will feel safe going to support these, places of business, that have been hit pretty hard with this.
Good. Well, Ron, thank you again for coming on the show, and congratulations again on your reelection. You're very welcome. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks, Yolanda.
Okay. We were just speaking with Ron Etskovitz. He and Judy Teller were both just reelected to the Board of Health. So we thank them for running and serving the town of Ashland in that manner. They certainly have been very busy with everything that's been going on with COVID-19. Our Board of Health has really had to do a lot of work working with our health agent, Mark Oram. We are going to go next to Steve Mitchell. Steve was just reelected to his 4th term to the Ashland Selectboard. He was outside. If you drove by the high school today, he was there, as was Preston Crow. Stephen, welcome to Around the Clock, and congratulations. And you're still mute. There we go.
Thank you, Yolanda. You're stuck with me for another 3 years.
Well, one definitely. We'll see after that. But the town, I think, is fortunate to have you.
Well,
how are you feeling tonight, right now, Steve?
Well, I feel good. I'm really, just humbled and gratified by the support from a lot of people. I have a lot of thank yous to send out tomorrow. That's my work tomorrow. I do want to acknowledge Preston. I think he's a good man. I think he was a good candidate.
Yes.
I think he's committed to our community. He walks the walk. Anybody that can serve on the planning board for 15 years, man, that's impressive. So, I just, tip my hat to Preston, and I'm sure that he's going to be engaged in a lot of things, coming up. So, but yeah, I just want to thank Preston.
Yeah, I would say that I think for both of you, it was a very good campaign. You both approached it correctly and in a way that was very respectful of each other and of the experience that you both brought to the seat. So that was great to see. And yes, a big thank you to Preston for his 15 years on the planning board. So you're reelected, and tomorrow is a new day. What do you think you'll be working on moving forward?
Well, you and I have served together now for quite a while.
We have.
And I think we have a pretty good idea of the list of projects that we have going on in town. And we can, I think all of us want to see these projects either completed,
right,
either started,
yep,
in process. And, I know, you've been active with the Pond Street project.
Yep.
That's slated for next year. I think that's a very exciting situation for the town to to have sidewalks on Pond Street, right?
It'll be great. It'll be great.
On Pond Street, to have bicycle lanes on Pond Street.
Yep.
And hopefully at some point new and different businesses on Pond Street. We're starting
Correct.
to see that now, right? And we're starting to see that in downtown, certainly. Unfortunately, COVID-19's kind of put a little bit of a barrier, but fortunately, our businesses seem to be hanging in there well. I know the select board certainly, and I think other boards as well, the Board of Health, have really supported the businesses as best we can during this situation. So, I mean, there's so many things going on right now, and I think it's indicative of, what we've accomplished as a community over the past, really decade when you think about it.
A lot has gone on, and it's interesting as you look back on the time that you've spent, not only on the select board, but as a finance committee member. And I mean, and you've been in town for what, over 30 years? How long have you been in Ashland?
I hate to say that. It's 45 years, actually.
45.
45
Wow.
years. So, but still a carpetbagger.
Yeah. I'm never going to catch up. I just passed 30 on Memorial Day.
All right.
But I think for many like you and me, Ashland has become our hometown.
Well, I think for you and I, we've lived in Ashland longer than we've lived anywhere else at this point. So,
Yeah.
I know that there's there's a lot of people that still live in Ashland, that grew up, that were born and raised here, and I think it's amazing that people still have that pride of community, that sense of place. And I think that comes with being in a community for a period of time. And I think, you and I meet a lot of people during our
activities
through the community. And, I don't care if you've been here 5 years or you've been here 45 years. I think you get a real good sense of people and how they feel about their hometown. And, so I think it's it's really been a very interesting, a long, strange trip, as they say.
Yes.
Right.
It's definitely been interesting in watching how the town has grown in those 30 years. I mean, and how different people have participated in those years. I know for myself, we were those condo people, right? Everyone talked about, right? You move into the condos in back of Shaw's, and I would go running on Cedar Street.
That's right.
I wouldn't go walking on Cedar Street now because of how busy it's become and how developed it has become. And it's finding that balance between what people remember and the changes that some people want, and finding that balance.
Yeah. And I think, when we first moved to town, we lived on Tri Street, and I've spoken about this and written about it as well. Pond Street is really not a whole lot different than it was when we moved here 45 years ago, believe it or not. So, I mean,
I can believe that.
Obviously there's, the Market Basket Plaza has changed dramatically, but it really hasn't changed significantly. And, we're on the cusp of having those changes. And, I think, the more and more I thought about this election and thought about the issues and so on, the more I realized that, we're just custodians at this point for the next generation. And whether it's relative to climate change or whether it's relative to the things that younger people and families want to see in town, we can't necessarily project our own mindset or values on that. And I think it's really important that we get as much feedback as we can from as much demographic as possible.
Oh, I agree. I think, the more we can reach out and get the younger generation involved, because as you've said a couple times, the Ashland in 100 years is not going to be for the people living here now. It's going to be for the people who haven't even moved in yet, potentially.
Yeah.
So good. Well, Steve, congratulations on your win, and thank you for coming and speaking with us. And make sure you go and get sworn in.
I'm going to get sworn in. I'm not going to show you, but I'm actually enjoying a beer right now. It was a long, hot day. And
it was a hot one.
And again, Preston was there all day long. I took a 45-minute break about 1 o'clock. So, kudos to Preston for being out there.
Good. Well, Steve, thank you so much. And next thing we'll be moving on is town meeting next Tuesday.
We'll see you at town meeting.
If not before.
if not before, and then we'll have a board meeting coming up fairly soon as well. So
Yes, good.
all right, thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Take care. Yep.
Bye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, that was Steve Mitchell, who has just been reelected to his 4th term to the Ashland Select Board against Preston Crow, who was the chair of the planning board. Congratulations to both of them for running. It's always good to have contested races, especially at the select board level, because we want people to have a choice and we want people to be able to look at the candidates and decide who they feel is going to be the person that's going to help move our town forward in the way that we want. We are getting ready to wrap up our coverage. I want to say a big congratulations to David Rosenblum, who ran for assessor, and thank him for running. A big thank you and congratulations to Laurie Tosti, who we got to speak with, who is the chair of the Ashland School Committee, who just got voted in for her 4th term. A big congratulations and thank you to Carolyn Bell and Cab Ravinovitz, who have both been reelected to trustees for the library. And of course, to Ronald Etskovitz and Judy Teller, who have just been reelected to the Board of Health. And to our newest member on the boards, Lakshmi Krishnan, who has just been elected to our planning board. Thank you and congratulations to all of them. Thank you all for watching this live coverage of Ashland's election for our local elections. Be ready to vote in September for the primary for Senate, as well as some other primaries. And then, of course, we'll have the big election in November. If you did not get to vote or you are not registered to vote, make sure you reach out to our town clerk's office to do that. And we will be bringing you coverage of some sort on both of those elections as we get ready to do that. Please consider when you go out, make sure you're still wearing a mask. It is required here in Ashland in all of our businesses. Stay safe. Please reach out and go to our restaurants that are now opening. There's a number of them that have some great outdoor seating and some great food, and they're coming back. Support the nail salons and the hair salons that are also starting to open, and the gyms that will hopefully be opening soon. Thank you for watching. We are going to wrap up our coverage. Again, thank you to everyone who participated. Thank you to Jim Adams, who took the time to speak with us, and Michael Herbert, who came and spoke with us, the town manager of Ashland. The local vote is the important vote, and your involvement in our community is so important. Come out to meetings, participate in the Zoom meetings that are happening, reach out to your elected officials, let them hear you. We'll find ways to interact with the community and try to get more involvement and more input, because we might be the elected officials, but we are here all representing you, the voters, and you, the residents of Ashland. Thank you again to our crew, Barbara Chisholm, Paul Bowden, Connor Donovan, Allison Rose, for helping get us the coverage and get this out to you on Zoom and get us out live via Facebook. For those of you watching via Facebook, thank you for taking the time and thank you for your comments and participating. Please make sure you reach out to us if you have stories, and we will keep bringing you the news here on Around the Clock and WACA-TV. Again, I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. Thank you so much for watching WACA-TV's and Around the Clock's live coverage of Ashland's Election Day. Take care, have a great night, and stay safe.